Hi, welcome back to Luminary Photography CIC in the East End of Sunderland. Today I'm going to be looking at WordPress. So WordPress is a website building platform. It's a full content management system. You can use it for e-commerce. You can use it for a whole range of different types of site. It's relatively easy to use once you get to know how to use it. It's really extendable, so there's thousands of plugins out there for it to help create exactly what you want from your website. So WordPress is free. It's open source. So there's two different versions. You've got wordpress.org, which you download the software and install it onto a server, or you can go to a web host and pay for the service with WordPress already installed. And then you've got wordpress.com, which is like an online platform. You sign up for, it's a free account, and then you can pay to kind of extend that to improve what it can do and things like that. We're going to be using wordpress.org. That's hosted on a web server at siteground.com. I don't get paid by them or anything like that, but I'd recommend them as a host. They're relatively expensive compared to some hosts, but their after service is really, really good, and I've used them for years without any issues at all. Okay, so in this tutorial, I'm going to be using something called Local. So you can get this by going to localwp.com and downloading it. Again, another free application. And what this does, this provides a kind of server environment on your laptop or computer so that you can test out working with WordPress, test out building a site and all of those things. The install process is just like any other program. And once you've got it installed and you open it up, you'll have something that looks like this. So I'm going to just click on create a new site. And I'm just going to keep it at the basics at the default settings. Click on continue. I'm going to give it a name. So I'm just going to call it test site. Click on continue. I'm going to keep that on preferred. So I've just given it a username and a password. Again, I'm just going to click on add site to install it. I would click on one-click admin, just means you don't have to keep logging in to get into the site. And then I just leave the rest as it is. And so now you'll see on the right-hand side here, we've got WP admin and we've got open site. Above that, you'll see you've got stop site. So when you want to shut it down, so it's not using resource and stuff, you can just click on stop site there. WP admin, so if I press on this now, you'll see it'll open the administrative side of the site or the back end. And then if I click on open site, it'll open the actual website itself. And you can see at the moment the website hasn't got much going on in it. It's what we call a bare bones site. So it's just the actual structure of it's in place, but the actual style or the look of the site isn't in place yet. Okay, so I'm just going to come into the admin area, and you will see we've got a menu down the left-hand side here. We've got a little bit of a couple of things on the top here, but this is also a menu that goes along here. So as we add more things to the website, you'll start to see that this will extend. So if we add plugins, they sometimes have their own menus. Sometimes they appear in other menus. Some menus will appear up here. And as we move around the site, you'll see that these menus do change a little bit in some places. This is our dashboard. The health status is pretty good. Tells you if there's anything wrong. So there won't be anything on there at the moment because we've just started. But this will let you know if you have any updates or if you need to delete anything, any sort of unused plugins and things like that. This tells you how many pages and comments and things are on your site. This is just kind of like a feed from WordPress itself. And you've got things like this, quick draft and WordPress events and news. We can dismiss this. And up here on the right-hand side, you'll see the screen options. And this changes, again, from page to page. You'll have different things on. So we can get rid of these things here. I'll leave the health status in. It just cleans up the screen a bit. And again, as you add plugins, as you add information, as you add pages and things, there'll be more of these kind of little blocks will appear in here as well, just to tell you how how your website's going on, things like that. Okay, so home, that's our front page here. Updates at the next one down. If I click on that, you'll see that it'll take us to this page. And so one of the important things with WordPress, it's so popular that it has lots and lots of people trying to hack it and things like that. And so one of the issues with WordPress being so big and so popular is that there's lots of dubious people out there trying to hack into it. And one of the ways that they do that is through vulnerabilities in plugins and themes and things like that. So there might be an issue with a plugin. There might be an issue with the kind of the core of the website. And as soon as the organization finds out about that, they will build a patch for that. So a security patch or something like that. That will appear in here. So same with your plugins and your themes. If there's an update or anything like that, that'll appear in here. And it's best to kind of update those as soon as you can. And that just makes sure that your website is up to date for security and things like that. You can see it says this site is automatically kept up to date with each new version of WordPress. And you can see that switches on and off, automatic updates for everything or updates just for maintenance and security. So I've left that on update at the moment, updates for everything. So if we look at the front page of our website, you see it looks fairly basic at the moment. So it's got a blog page in here with a date. We've got, this is our sample page on the menu. We've got this is basically where your site logo and things would be. This is the footer at the bottom, which would have more menu options and again, probably a logo or something like that. So if I go and look at our website, Luminary website, and I have a scroll through, you'll see that we've got lots of different options on there. We've got a menu, we've got different things on a page, we've got links. If I go to our learning resources, you see these are blog posts that are just giving us different information. We've got things like a contact form, a link to our Instagram page. And so you can see that it's got lots and lots of different things in there. So with the site, we have two main things. So we have, firstly, our data, if you like, that goes into a database. So when we put something into WordPress, so if we go to a post, so posts come originally from like a blog post from when WordPress was a blogging platform. So if I click on add post, I can add text and things in there, a post, and that'll end up on the site. And at the moment, it'll still look like this. So that information that I put in the post, the data that goes into the database, is one part of the site. And then all of this, if I go over here to a Luminary site, you'll see that it's got a different colored background, it's got logos in, the text is all different colors, and this is what we call our styles or our style sheets. So those two things work together. So if we go to the research page here, all of these items in the research page are posts. And what's happening here is that this is dynamically created. So basically what's happening is when we click into this page, it will ask the database for the information that's supposed to be on this page. So at the moment, we've got 6 posts. If I was to create another post and link it to this page, it would dynamically add that to the page the next time we opened it up. So we have all of this data side of things, but then we also have what we call the styles or the style sheet. So if we look at the kind of the background color, the text colors, the type of the font of the text, even down to the shape of the images that are on the page, this is all decided by our website styles. And again, that's something that we decide. So that combination of the data and the styles, these are two separate things. So at any point, if we want to change the style of the website, if we want to change the look and feel of the website, we can do that and it won't affect the data side of it. It will only affect what the site looks like and not the information that's on it. And that's one of the great things about a website like this, is that ability to kind of play about with lots of all the information that's in your database, and we can kind of keep changing that. So if we have a look at my learning resources page here, you can see that again these are just posts, these are blog posts, and I've got them categorized so if I click on exposure, it will bring up the posts to do with exposure. You can see there, it just took a couple of seconds for that to pop up. And again, it's just what it's doing is filtering down that information that it's bringing in from the database. And again, if we add, say, another couple of posts to lighten, and then we have 5, the next time we come on here and click on that, we'll have an extra couple of posts in there. Okay, so if I come back into the main admin page now and go down to posts. So like I say, posts were originally to do with blog posting. So a post and a page are very similar. There's some important differences though. So a post usually has a date attached to it. So that usually means like it's in a chronological order. And traditionally they would have been stacked up on one on top of the other. And now we have lots of different ways of showing that. So again, if I go back to my learning resources page, this is kind of what we call a masonry grid. So it's a bit like bricks being put together. And there's lots of different ways that you can organize your blog posts. And then we have pages. So pages are your static content on the site. Still works in the same way. It's still pulling the information from your database, but these are more static pages. So if you imagine, so these are your more static pages. So things like your home page. So all of this information is generally the same most of the time. Our contact page, so our contact page, this remains the same all the time. So this is what we mean by a static page. And so our pages are our static content. Our posts tend to be things that we renew on a regular basis. That could be things like, opinion pieces or articles or news items or something like that. So the other thing that's special about posts is that you can categorize them and you can add tags as well. This is something that you can't by default do with pages. There are ways around that, but the categories and tags is really useful. Again, if I go back to learning resources, these are all categories. So all of these posts have been categorized so that it's easy for people coming to the website to sort through and find what they're looking for. Okay, so I'm just going to go and quickly create a post. Just click on Add Post. You might have a few things pop up here to do with styling and that as you come into it. I'm just going to put in a title. I'm going to paste in some text just so you can see what it looks like. You can see that I just went to the end of the text here and pressed enter, and then it says type / to choose a block, or you can click on plus here. So our posts and pages, and basically the way that our website is built in WordPress is through blocks. So if I am looking for an image, and so basically this will allow me to put an image into the page. I'm going to click on Media Library. So Media Library is where all our images will be put. I'm going to select Files, and then I'm just going to come and grab some sample images, upload them into the Media Library, and then I'll just pick one of them. So you can see that's now in my post. Add another one here just so you can see that again. Click on Image. If I now go to Media Library, you'll see that them images are in there now. And over on the right here, so alt text, this is important. This is for people who have visual disabilities, but also this is good for search engine optimization and things like that. Title, it's good to rename your title. And again, this helps with search engine optimization. I'm just going to click on select, and you can see we've now got 2 images in there, and we've got a text. And then I'm just going to come down here, and again, if you just press enter, it creates a new block. You can also go up to plus up here, and it shows you all the different blocks that we've got. So we've got things like galleries, files, media and text. Then we've got a whole bunch of formatting things, so we can add buttons in there, we can make a grid. And then we've got widgets, which are things like calendar items. Again, as you add plugins, you'll see that you'll have more and more things in here. One of the great things about WordPress is how much compatibility it has with just copy and pasting links to things. And I'm just going to paste, I've just copied a link from YouTube and I've just pasted it directly, and you can see it's brought up a window, it's automatically embedded it. You see we have this bar on the right hand side, a sidebar, and it's got post and block. So if we press on that as well, you see we've got these 2 bars. The left hand one shows us the actual blocks. We've also got patterns, which are kind of different layouts that we can add to our page. And then we've got media, which is, this is a link to free images basically. And on the right hand side, whichever block we're clicked on, this will show us the options for that specific block. So if we go to text, you can just see we can change the color of the text and the style of the type. And then on the YouTube one, we can change the margins on it. We can resize. This hasn't got very many options compared to some of the others, but some plugins don't need very many options. Some have loads of them. If I click on image, you can see we can change all sorts of things. So we can change the aspect of the image. We can give it rounded edges. There's loads of things. We can change the margins and the shadows and things like that on it. Some of the other things that we've got here that worth looking at, so heading. So if I click on this, you'll see that it's H2. If I click on that and make it H1, you'll see it's a bigger type of text. H1 is like your main titles. H2 is generally kind of the titles that like your subtitles, and then you have a variety of different sizes and things like that. It's worth using those within your pages because, again, search engine optimization, that helps with that. You'll also see as we're hovering over here that you have menu options for the text as well, so you can just kind of select a bit of text, just like you would with a word processor. If we click on post there, you'll see that's to do with the publishing. So at the moment this is published. If I click on that, you'll see there's options for draft, pending, private. We can password protect the post. Sticky, this is if we want to put the post at the top of a series of posts in a blog. And then the other things that we've got at the top here, so if we click on, this is our document overview. So this shows us all the blocks that are already in a post, and we can kind of move these around within here, and that will allow us just to reorder things really, really simple, just drag and drop. And then I'm just going to click on save, and that will publish the post. If I don't want it to be published, there's usually a little thing here that says save as a draft, or if we've already done that, we can go back to draft like that and just click on save. I'll just publish that anyway. So if I go back to the front page of the website now, you can see that it's changed, and we now have that blog post there, and you see it's got a date on the bottom, November the 6th, 2025. We can change that, we can take that out so we don't have dates on it, so it's much more like static content. And by default, these will just stack up on top. So you can see we've got a post here that's hello world, then we've got to put our second post here on top of it, and it'll just keep stacking them up in date order. By default, the blog is on the front page of the website. Probably wouldn't want that. Most people will want a home page of some sort that's kind of static, and we can change those settings to do that. So, okay, so if we go back into a dashboard, I'm just going to go back to posts. So if I click on all posts, you'll see we have our list of posts here. If we click on quick edit, you can just go in and change things like the name, what categories they're in, what tags there are. If you want comments allowed, or switch off pings. Pings are just where somebody's kind of reposted your post on another WordPress site. You can change the status in here, so it means you don't have to go into that full editing mode to just change the basic things. We've got date here as well, so you can change the date, which is great if you want your posts in a specific order, or if you've got like 10 posts that you're going to post all at once, or you want them to be posted at different times. You can schedule this as well, so you can schedule your posts. So if I put this in for the 6th of December, it'll post it on that date. You'll see that that's now changed to scheduled there. You need to make sure that you update it as well. And that's the same with anything in WordPress. You need to make sure that when you've finished your editing that you click on update. If I go down, you've got add post, and that's just to add another post. And then we've got categories. So in here at the moment, we've got uncategorized. I'm just going to go into quick edit and change that to, let's see, photography. I'll just have that as photography for my default category. That means that anything that gets posted on here now, any new posts I make will by default go into photography. And then I can do I can make another one, and one of the other things that we can do is we can have subcategories as well. So if I put cameras under, and you can see we have like this step down thing where there's a hierarchy of different categories. This can be helpful in organizing your posts. And then we have tags, which is similar. So categories tend to be a bit more specific. So these tend to be more groups of posts. And then tags are more about describing what the post is. So we can do a whole bunch of tags in here. So we can do sort of cameras, photography, landscape. And then those things we can tag onto any other posts, and then anybody coming to the site can also filter down by those if we've got the tags shown on our posts as well. It's just another way of being able to search things. And again, this is good for our search engine optimization as well. Okay, I'm just going to come down to media. So I'm going to click on library, and you can see these are the images that I put in previously. I'm just going to click on that, and you can see here that we can add a alt text. Let's say this is good for people with disabilities. This helps them to be able to use a reader which reads out the text aloud. A title, caption and description, we can use them so that we actually have captions showing on our images. Let's close that. One of the problems with the media library in WordPress is once you get quite a lot of images in, it's quite hard to sort through. There are a few plugins out there that make it much easier though. I'm not going to go into them at the moment. I'll come back to that later on. But so the basic library in WordPress is literally just kind of one page with loads and loads of images in. Okay, and then if we go down to pages, so if I click on all pages, exactly the same as the posts, we've got our list of pages in here. So here we've got a privacy policy, which is automatically created. And this is like a generic privacy policy page. You can just go in and edit it and edit the URLs and things. And exactly as we would edit a post, we can add a page. You'll see that we've got this pop-up that's got different patterns in. I'm not going to add that now because we can add that later. So it's basically just different layouts for pages, sort of some example layouts. So I'm going to go in, and I'm just going to call this test page. So this is just a very basic gallery block. If I click on media library, you'll see we've got images in there. I'm going to select all of them, create a new gallery, insert into the gallery, and you can see that it's added the images, but it's formatted them all as portrait images, so it's cropped quite a few of them. So like this one here and this one here, landscape images, and they've lost quite a bit of the image. So what we can do, it's the only thing with this basic gallery is that we don't have much, we can't override very much with it. So what we can do, we can turn off crop to fit, and you can see it changes the format of them, but then you're left with these big blocks. So by standard, you don't have like a masonry format where it makes all the blocks kind of fit into each other. But what we can do, so we can move things around so that the ones that are formatted the same are next to each other, and it will resize them to give us a better, basically a better fitting page. So you can see there now that we've got landscape and portraits. They're all full, the full images now, rather than just the kind of cropped images, which gives us a much better kind of look. So if I'm just going to click on publish, I'm just going to open that in a new tab so we can have a look at them. So you can see at the moment, if I click on them, they don't do anything. So if we go back here, we can click on our images, go to the gallery. So in this menu up here, so if I click there, you'll see that it's got the image, and then above that it's got the parent block, which is the gallery. So I'll click on the parent block, and you can see it's got this link here. So if I click on that, you can see it says link images to media files, link images to an attachment, enlarge on click. So it'll scale images using a light box. So if I click on that and just save that, I'm just going to refresh this. So now you can see it enlarges it like so. So that's not bad for a very basic gallery. If you want something more substantial than this, so if you want to use more images than this in a gallery, you need a better plugin, really. You need something that's kind of specifically made for dealing with images. And I'd suggest something like Foo Gallery works really, really well. That's probably about the best known image gallery for WordPress. Okay, so if we just click on the W at the top there, that takes us back to the dashboard. Because it's a blogging platform, you can comment on some of the things, or users can comment. For me, this is really important that we check that this is switched off by default, because otherwise you can get an awful lot of spam, and it can become a problem. And obviously you don't want that published directly on the page automatically. I'll come to that in a minute, because we can change that down here. So appearance is firstly our themes. So my recommendation, although there are lots and lots of themes out there that can do lots of different things and that are specific to very particular types of site, for me, one of these three is the best options. These 2025, 24 and 23 have been built specifically for WordPress and specifically made to work with the latest updates, with the block editor and everything else. And to me, it makes sense that you would use this, because these are all bare bones sites. You can basically do whatever you want to them to make them look how you want. And the site editor, which if we click on editor there, this opens up and you can edit the template, the theme, to do whatever you want. So if I click on navigation, this is your menu. This is up here. You can see we've now got test page in there. Style, so this is everything. This is all your text, your colors, your background, everything. So you can basically change the site how you want it here. When I was talking about style sheets before, this is where your main styles for your website are kind of altered. And then within the site editor, within a page or a post, you can also override those settings for individual blocks and individual elements. Pages, so we've got some templates here. We can make templates on an individual page basis if we want a page to look different to other pages. And templates, we've got templates here. So the templates are, like the index is for your main front page. The blog home is the front page of your blog, which, to be honest, this is a legacy thing. You don't really need to use this anymore. Pages, this is your standard page. Single posts, this is what a post looks like when you've clicked into it from the main blog page. So if I click on install plugins, there's nothing in here at the moment. So plugins are what helps to expand the website beyond its just its basic settings. So, and plugins include things like security plugins, e-commerce. So if you want to have a shop, we've got things like WooCommerce, which is kind of like probably the biggest WordPress e-commerce plugin. We have gallery plugins. So if I'm just going to click on add plugin, and you'll see we've got a repository here, which is the list of security signed plugins that are available. I'm just going to put in here Foo Gallery, and you'll see you don't even have to press enter or anything like that. It starts coming up as soon as you start typing. So Gallery by Foo Gallery. Just click on install now. You can just click through and click on more details to have a look at what it does, and then click on activate. Skip that. And then that's the kind of the front page of the Foo Gallery plugin. And now if I go into galleries, you see that there's now this extra menu item, and if you go in, you've got all of these different settings and things. And if we want to uninstall the plugin, we go to installed plugins here, and we deactivate it, and then we can delete it through here. Users, there's just one user in here because there's just me using it. But you can add users, you can change the roles, so you can have different roles. So basically, a subscriber is just somebody that can read the blog posts. A contributor is somebody that can submit a blog post to go onto the website. An author can publish blog posts. An editor can edit pages and posts, and an administrator can do everything. So basically an editor is a step down from an administrator. An administrator can do everything like install plugins and things like that as well, and create new users. It's worth getting to know this if you are building a site that's going to have more than a handful of people coming on the site. What you don't want is just one account with multiple people accessing it, because you're just ending up with the passwords going around lots of different people, and then you're opening yourself up to kind of security risks and things like that. Tools, so these are different things. So these are things like importing and exporting. So they give you different options. Your site health's in there, which you can reach from the dashboard. Erasing personal data. So if one of the users asks you to delete all their personal data from the website, then you can do that through here. And then you can directly edit theme files and plugin files as well. These are much more kind of developer kind of orientated options here. And then, so this is quite important. So when I'm building a website, this is probably the first thing that I come to, just to make sure that everything's kind of where it needs to be before building the site. So if we go to general, so this is a site title, a tagline. We can choose a site icon. So if I go to upload a file, and I've got a file there, I'm just going to upload that. If I select that, just click on crop image, and you can see there that goes in there, and then that will appear up here once you've published your site and everything. Your URL, you don't want to mess about with this, because if you mess about with that, then it will basically break the site. And then when you come down here, there's the language. So you change that to English UK for those who are in the UK. It does make a difference to the language that's used, and the way that things are labelled and things like that. Date format and so on. I'm just going to save the changes on that. And you'll see now that the logo up here, the favicon, has now changed to the Luminary one. Writing, so our default post category, you can select which one that is. So we've made a few categories before. Default post, that can just stay the same. This is a legacy thing that's probably really doesn't get used very often. You used to be able to email a post into WordPress and it would post it from an email. So reading, this is important. So reading, so your homepage displays, so your latest posts. So we don't want it generally put on that. So your latest posts is your blog page. So really we don't want it on that. I'm just going to change this to a static post, and then I'm going to put my test page as the home page. And then I'll put the sample page as where my posts are going to be displayed. So usually this is something I would call like a news or something like that. And then my post would go into that, or like the research page that we're looking at on the Luminary site. That could be where it defaults to. But to be honest, again, this is a legacy thing. You don't have to do this now. There's a whole load of ways that you can put posts on different pages, and you can split them up, and you can categorize them and all those sort of things. And we do that through plugins and things. Blog pages show at most 10 posts. Syndication feature, don't worry about that. That doesn't really matter at the moment. And then full text director. Again, this only matters if you're posting blogs on the traditional kind of blog page. But this bit here, really important, and kind of that's one of the first things you need to do on your website. As soon as you've made a couple of pages and you've got a home page, is go and set this up. And then discussion. So with discussion, you need to make sure this is locked down. So I always tick this box here. Comment must be manually approved. And all that does is that if anybody posts a comment, it gets held up here. You come in, you can see it up here, and you can go and delete it if it's not too pleasant or something like that. And then this is just icons and things that you don't have to worry about. Again, just going to save that. Media, so this is your thumbnail sizes. The settings that are on here are ideal, are perfect. Permalinks, again, you don't want to mess with this. This will mess things up, but it should be set on post name. So basically, this, if you create a page or a post, it will name that as the link that's up here will be the same as what the post was. And then privacy, this is your privacy policy. It's kind of a standard practice to do one of these now. One of the things that's missing off here is a cookie policy as well, where, you know, the usual thing that there's a little pop-up that comes up about accepting cookies. Again, that's something that you would do with a plugin. So that was just an initial introduction to WordPress. I'm going to do some further WordPress videos to talk about things in a little bit more detail, particularly the appearance and plugins and things like that. But this should get you started. Anyway, I hope that's been helpful. Again, like and subscribe and have a look at some of our other videos. Thank you very much.